equities surged on hopes of a US-Iran breakthrough as the dollar held near multi-month lows. Indices, Forex, oil, metals, and the day's biggest mover saved for last. The S&P 500 closed the session on a strong footing, with price action sustaining the bullish structure that has defined recent trade. Momentum remains firmly pointed toward higher levels, and the path of least resistance stays tilted upward while this structure holds. Disney held its strong bullish character through today's session, with price continuing to press toward higher levels as the broader equity rally offered support. The trend leans higher, and recent price action suggests the structure favors further extension. Oil trimmed early losses and the bullish trend reasserted itself despite headlines around a one-week low, with geopolitical risk tied to Hormuz shipping keeping upward pressure alive. The trend leans higher, and the market looks more likely to probe higher levels while supply disruption risk persists. USDCAD extended its bearish lean through the session as the Canadian dollar came under broad selling pressure amid escalating US-Canada trade tensions. The trend points lower, and the path of least resistance remains toward lower levels while that trade war narrative holds. Bitcoin maintained its bullish posture through today's session, holding the structure that keeps the path of least resistance angled toward higher levels. Momentum continues to support the trend, and the market looks positioned to extend further while this framework remains intact. Meta diverged from the broader equity rally, with the bearish trend pulling price action toward lower levels despite the positive macro backdrop. The structure leans lower, and the market looks more likely to extend toward lower levels while that pressure persists. Silver traded with a mild bullish lean through the session, with price holding supportive structure even as gold wavered on uncertainty ahead of the Warsh speech and upcoming inflation data. The trend tilts toward higher levels, and the market looks positioned to extend upward while that structure is maintained. Tesla's session reflected a mild bullish underlying trend, yet price action struggled to sustain upward momentum, with the market pulling back toward lower levels through the day. The structure leans lower in the near term, and the path of least resistance tilts downward while that pressure remains. Stocks climbed as optimism over US-Iran diplomacy lifted sentiment heading into the Jackson Hole gathering, while the Canadian dollar slid sharply amid deepening trade tensions with Washington. Treasury yields steadied after reports emerged that the Treasury General account could be tapped for bond buybacks. The one to watch on the calendar today is USCB consumer confidence. The Dow closed the session in strong bullish form, with price action extending toward higher levels in line with the broad equity advance driven by Iran deal optimism. The trend is firmly pointed higher, and the structure strongly supports continued extension toward higher levels while that momentum holds. That is the evening wrap for Tuesday, the 25th of August. If this breakdown adds value, subscribing keeps the daily brief coming. Tomorrow's edition checks whether today's equity gains held through the overnight session. This is general market information for educational purposes only, not financial advice.